Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the GameSoup Super Game Awards. I'm your host Chloe Montgomery, joined as always by my fabulous co-host
Kayla Dice. I think the fact you called me fabulous meant I went even more
Fabulous,
effeminate.
flaming.
Yeah, on that than necessary. We can both tell what word we're dodging, but that's fine. Welcome back from the ad break, the 1 week long ad break.
Yes. Terrible things have happened to us during that ad break, but you don't need to concern yourselves with it.
Oh god, yeah, that's I had a really bad fibro thing this week, and I don't know why. I was just I was out on the weekend, I had an active weekend. And then on Monday,
Is it maybe the cold?
maybe the cold, maybe having done too much stuff. I also realized I didn't really eat anything on Sunday. But it just added up, and on Monday I was the most exhausted I felt. My only other comparison was how exhausted I felt after while recovering from surgery. And I'm like,
Oh my god.
yeah, I don't even get it, because I was not even that exhausted when doing the move, and the move killed me. Welcome back to Game Soup, where we update you on our medical ailments every week. That's the underlying arc of Game Soup is finding out what is wrong with us. Yeah, it's just one day. This is going to be a fucking year-long arc to find out what is wrong with us.
Keep listening. Subscribe to the pod.
One day.
So we are continuing, of course,
the awards.
because you've been trapped in the audience for the past week. We are continuing, of course, with the GameSoup Super Game Awards, our annual award show where we award all of the games from the past year of GameSoup what they deserve. We have 4 more awards to give out today.
Mm-hmm.
The best party game, the best campaign, the game of the year, and a game most likely to be made in another dimension, because of course all the games were made in the dimension this is being recorded in.
Yeah. I imagine the trophy is made of soup cans, right?
Yeah, it's like a nice label on it. It is a gold tin can somehow. They've managed to blend the two elements together.
I don't think they're empty soup cans. I think they're soup in.
They're full of dice,
but you can't really
soup with dice in it. Yeah,
dice. No, don't blend me. I'm allowed one of those jokes every 4 months, and I think I restrained myself really well. But yes, back. Are we moving on to first category?
Yes, the first category is, of course, the best party game. Which of these would you play at a party? Which would you pull out and be like, hey guys, I got a great game that we can play, and we're not sitting around at the table, we might not be rolling dice, but, it's just a nice thing with some beers, maybe. You've had a stressful day.
Yeah.
Something in between your campaigns.
We make a lot of party games.
Because they're so easy to make.
Yeah. So looking at the ones that feel like the candidates, obviously, we'll be right back, I guess, as party game adjacent. Maybe Mossman is? Midnight Gift probably is. Sausage totally is.
I played some Sausage over the Christmas period, so...
Love a bit of exploring the sausage.
Down Girl.
Bodacious Brides is maybe a bit adjacent. Also kind of Sunset Sleeper. There's a lot of stuff where it's probably the best version of this is a tasty one shot with friends. Yes. Yum 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 yum. Do you have our first nominee?
Well,
or do you want me to reveal our first nominee?
I have to give an honourable mention to Sausage, because as I said, I played it over the Christmas period. But the problem with Sausage is that you don't need the game to play it. You can just play it suggesting things. You don't need the deck of cards that it comes with. You don't need the whole rules. It's just, do you know how to make sausage? And the person I asked was like, yeah, I know how sausage is made. It's like pig skin or cow skin or whatever wrapped around. It's like, okay, you clearly know too many things. Game's ruined, basically.
Yeah, it's an interesting game as a product where I'm like, this is not necessary to do the thing. You can watch people playlist and then reverse engineer it easily, or even just read the blurb and it's like, well, I can figure that out. But it's definitely fun.
So have you got a nominee to announce?
You know, I think what I will be nominating is We'll Be Right Back, which was our television guide creator where you were sort of Tetrising your TV schedule together. I think we may have said that you are actually doing some
Yeah,
sort of Tetris block stuff. And also then seeing, are you fulfilling all of the criteria for what makes a good, like, what the audience TM is looking for. And over a series of rounds, that sort of rotates as the audience tastes vary. It's fun. It's quick to figure out. Essentially the first round of
yeah.
it is a trial round, like is so often the case in many sort of great pick up and play games. And then from there it goes. It's everyone's got to grips with it. You can play it as just a sort of simple number games, and it's sort of fun because of the fact it's sort of competitively solo rather than like screwing each other over. But also the fun part about it and why it belongs in sort of role playing game space is just the joy of inventing television shows where you're going like, I guess it's the Traitors meets the Lady Gaga Muppet special,
Hmm.
but also there's an element of Spin the Bottle, the children's game in it. And
Yeah, it
and
makes
you're
sense.
like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, of course, that's that television show
you
we
just
know
have
and
to
love.
run with whatever nonsense. Yeah,
So for that, I think it's just it's running with nonsense, which at least for me, as someone whose friends sort of are exclusively freaks and fuck ups, it's a good play space to be in.
again, alluding that other F
Is
word.
that harsh for you as someone who is one of my friends?
Thank you, darling.
I'm sorry.
You have two stats freak and fuck up. There you go. That's the game for the week. My nominee has to be Jury of Our Peers, which was a game about arguing over pointless debates while you were posing as lawyers. Now, I think this is great. The wigs in the box, great touch. You get to dress up, pretend you're barristers, whatever. The little gavel for like the judge, great. It's a lot of little bits that add up to a whole package. It really adds to it. It's oeuvre.
It's an interesting difference compared to Sausage, where I feel like, yeah, technically the game part of them both makes sense. You have pointless arguments, you pretend to be
Yeah.
judges. With Sausage, I do feel like the package of the game doesn't add much, whereas with a Jury of Our Peers, I feel it really does, and that's why it's a game that's worth having as a game rather than just going, okay, I know the
Yeah.
idea, I can just do that.
Like, Sausage could just be a web app. It could just be click random generator. Jury of Our Peers adds to it by being a boxed product.
Yeah, it's a fancy dress
Yeah,
kit.
basically. But who isn't arguing over nonsense topics? Like, I mean, the one that we posed originally when it was produced was like the console wars, PlayStation versus Xbox. I mean,
The case of Xbox versus PlayStation.
yes, of course. The people versus versus Microsoft naming their consoles silly things.
Yeah, that's a fascinating one to be on the Microsoft side of when you're playing the game, because sometimes, like in real life,
Yeah,
you get given a stance you don't agree with, and you really got to go to bat for it.
you've got to argue for it.
But
Yeah,
it's not grim because everything's fun.
but the added layer of you're not necessarily trying to win the argument. You're just trying to not break the kayfabe of being a lawyer.
Yeah, I played this also over Christmas, and I won a game because I had a situation that I was on the side of defending Microsoft's naming habits, a thing I don't believe in real life
Yeah,
and is impossible. But the moment the person I was playing with tried to go, like, they tried to list out the things, and they just sort of started cracking up because they were putting on a silly voice, and they lost it, and I won. It's like, because, I was a more dedicated performer.
and I loved that the book had like the alternate modes in it, like the one where you got a bit of prep time, so people would go away and like build up their arguments rather than just improving it. And like the one time we did this, we went away and made PowerPoint presentations, and like had big pointy sticks to point at the television screen, like, and this is Exhibit A sort of thing. It's just there's a lot of different ways it can go with it, and it's clever. So, I think it's time to announce the winner.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking We'll Be Right Back is a bit complicated for a party game.
Fair.
I could see a competitive scene for it, but the same could be said about Smash Brothers, which was originally a party game. So I think it's up to you. It's your
It's a thing.
call.
I think We'll Be Right Back is very good, but it's probably better as a party game if you've ahead of time got everyone on board. I
Yeah.
think it's harder to be at like having a sort of low key stakes hangout and say, "Hey, let's bring this out." And Jury of Our Peers is great for that because it's just sort of fun to explore the space. So I think that'll be the award, but it's such a close
It
up
is.
and
It
comer
is.
from We'll Be Right Back. Worthy to sell itself as a Super Game Awards nominee.
Yes. So let's bring them up to the stage. It's the Right Honourable Judge Happenstance. Come on up here.
Oh, yes, it is I, Judge Happenstance. Truly, over many years, I've always thought, oh, wow, did that just happen? How strange. And now, having been given this award, my immediate reaction, that happened? How strange. I never would have expected it. What fun happenstance that I am here. I've been Judge Happenstance, and I think you're all innocent. Hammer, 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 hammer.
Hammer. Thank you very
Yeah,
much,
I mean,
Judge.
if any of us
Your
were
Honour.
guilty of crimes, I think that's like legally binding. I think
Yeah.
we're all.
We've all been pardoned.
It's exciting. I've been looking for a
I
part.
can't think of any criminals in the RPG space that I want to call out here.
That moves us then to our next category: best campaign game. So
Yes.
obviously, there's a lot of space between party game and like campaign game. I do think there's like a lot of individual things into that. A lot of the games we've featured on the show have been one-shot games that I would not describe as party games, and a lot have been, maybe sort of short sessions. But these are sort of the furthest steps apart. This is a game where the intention is that it's someone's main game, that they've really run into it, where the strength is not just, oh, how immediately fun is it to play? It's also
Does it last
how
over
satisfying
a few
is it when
weeks?
you're
Yeah.
doing, long-term sort of play sessions and stuff. Would you like to reveal? Are you a big campaign person, actually? Well,
I try to always be running a campaign. I'll be honest. I run more campaigns than I do just like one shots. I've got my ongoing Die campaign that we're hopefully getting back to now that people have permanent housing. Yeah.
I'm in that game as
Yeah, you were
as a
in that
character,
game.
to be clear.
Well, you played yourself. You were the Dread
Yeah,
Pirate
but like
Dice.
myself now just exists in the world. Like you could, like that character might come back.
Yeah.
I'm trapped in there.
Oh, they absolutely will. Spoilers to any of my friends who listen to it, but the Dread Pirate Dice will absolutely come back.
I want to play, I think, more campaigns. I feel like I want to run a terminal campaign once I've got the book printed. I feel like maybe I want to run it in real life. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe it's one day it'll be on this feed. Who knows?
Yeah, what is your first nominee?
So yes, the first nominee is Meisterlending. Frankly, I think the nomination it really deserved the nomination. Meisterlending was, of course, the Borrower's style game that was set in each of the players' houses. So it had that sort of in between the session sort of meta game of like, can you look after your family? Do you have to move house or something in between the sessions? But then also it did have that session-to-session gameplay of scavenging around in this real world of the house. So like it was all spaces that the players didn't have to imagine. They could just look down at the piano or the desk or the table that they were playing around.
It's a game that pops so much more if you're playing, even 3 sessions is bigger than 1, and obviously like 6 months of play is so much bigger than like a week or stuff, because I think it forces a lot of reflection on like space and where you live and how you live and how that relates to the people around you. For a game that was devised as just sort of, oh, wouldn't it be fun if the mice were in the walls?
I mean, I think this was one of the Dragon Meat games.
Yes, I believe the 2 words that came up with it were cookie and cheese.
Yeah.
And because we were like, 2 food things are really hard, we were like, well, who loves cookies and who loves cheese? bloody mice. And then we used an old concept that I'd had as a tweet about like filling in a stamp card for your items. Moist the lending.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the name. It's a bit derivative, but sometimes
It's a real first draft name, but
sometimes the spirit of the first draft is really strong in these games, and that first draft ethos of it is very much a heartbreaker of a game, but that spirit, that willingness to go for that great first idea really shines through, and it really works. The few times that I played this where we've had to avoid our very skittish cat Holmes, it's like the more times he sees you, we played it, that he would get more used to you, but like he would be more willing to go for you sort of thing. So like you kind of get that sort of, ooh, scary sort of thing with Holmesy. But he's looking at me like he hates me.
I was staying around someone's recently whose housemates have a new kitten, and it's very excited. But first time, very shy, didn't want to do anything, and I was like, that's okay, kitty cat. But then in the morning, they were super friendly to me. So I'm like, I've won. Animals love me. I should give a nominee.
It would be helpful for the format.
Yeah. Nominee hit the first 2-time nominee of the Super Game Awards. Versus the World is also up for Best Campaign Game. Obviously, I think the difference between playing Versus the World as a one-shot and Versus the World as like a campaign of any length is kind of the difference between Scott Pilgrim Versus the World, the film, and Scott Pilgrim, the books, or
the series.
The anime, I guess, falls, where it's saying like, oh, here's this fun character in this sort of short life, here's an adventure that's hyper-realized. The thing is really digging into your character and what they hold as valuable. Like, the game themes all of its playbooks around music, but also it's a big interrogation of like, well, what is music to you? How important is it to you? Are you someone who is going to be doing this forever, or are you someone who this is the way you use as an in to other things that are more important, like your relationships and friendships, or being in different places? And the way your characters can evolve as they sort of level up and take moves from sort of hidden playbooks in the game, which aren't linked to the musical setup. Obviously we have like the adult playbooks that are only there for sort of pilfering moves from and eventually becoming more stuff like radio DJ, live-in partner, or assistant manager or stuff. And it's an interesting thing because it takes a thing from like a slice of life to a late coming of age, the delayed coming of age, getting your coming of age in your mid-20s rather than your coming of age in your 16-year-old. And I think the heart of it is really good. It's very interesting as a campaign. I'm personally a big fan, and that's one of the campaign games I'd really like to dive into this year, is the completely real Versus the World.
Yeah. I think Versus the World really shines because it can be good as both like a one-shot, like just playing the hits sort of session, as well as the campaign game. And a lot of games struggle to do both. Versus the World definitely hits both of these. So, I'm willing to give it to Versus the World.
Yeah. And who's that coming up on stage to accept the award? It is, ironically enough, Lee Brian O'Malley.
Oh, geez. Oh, hi. I'm the Canadian Lee Brian O'Malley. I don't know what Canadians sound like, but this is the voice that my creators decided to give to me. I want to thank all of my fans. I want to thank all of the Starbucks workers that gave me free coffee while I was writing the game. I want to thank all of my artists who really helped me, my colorists, rather. They are artists in their own right, you know what I mean? Look, this book was a labor of love, and I just want to say to all of my fans, look forward to Versus the Universe coming soon. Okay? Thank you very much.
Wow. And then that takes us to Thank you, to Leave Right. That takes us to the game of the year. What do we think? I mean, what do you feel of like game of the year things? Because we broke so much stuff down here. We had like best writing, best art,
I mean,
best, then we've done this breakdown where we've done different kind of games because that sort of avoids making these direct comparisons. But like, so it's an interesting way. If you say, "Oh, this was the game of the year," the answer is kind of always like, "For me, this was the game of the year." And then we've come together as an award body and said, "Oh, but this is the real one," which is a bit strange. But what are the things you look for that make something a game of the year?
I mean, it generally has to be a good game for a wide audience, which typically isn't always the best metric for what was the best game of the year. Because like the best game of the year might be only for a niche audience. Like, say, a scary game isn't going to be like the best for everyone. Like a younger audience can't really play a scary game. But then at the same time, like a really in-depth platformer might not be the thing for everybody. Like in that sort of video game space there. So for like RPGs, tabletop RPGs, it's the same for like a one-page RPG. Might be somebody's game of the year, but at the same time, a campaign game or a party game, they all have their different audiences. So really it is about what had the most people talking about it, what had, the most buzz around it, had the most things going for it all at once sort of thing. And I think that's really what we need to be talking about here.
Yeah, it's interesting. If I was looking back on my year as a person in another dimension, Terminal was like the most game of my year. But like, I probably did maybe the most sort of interesting mechanical stuff in 30 Foes. But that's not as big. But yeah, what is your nominee for... Actually, you did the last one, so I guess I need to go first. My nominee for Game of the Year, just because of its integration of rules writing, rules text, some beautiful art, beautiful minis tied in with the game, is the War on Pretzels, Sunday at the Park war game. Two rival factions of birds and the pretzel stand owner caught in the middle against both of them. It's really mechanically interesting, and it did loads of other stuff that all good war games do, which I, as a person who hasn't played war games, can't elaborate on. But you all know what I'm talking about.
No, please, you played the War on Pretzels. Please tell us about the War on Pretzels. Tell us about the minutiae of the mechanics.
Oh, the mechanics of the War on Pretzels, yes, and all of the classic mechanics of role.
What was your favourite faction in the War of Pretzels?
Ooh, my favourite faction. I mean, I simply adored the Magpies.
Oh, with the way that they would steal things from the pretzel seller.
Yeah, but also how they could attack, NPCs who otherwise aren't really there. Like, they just sort of are usually space fillers, and they're the audience for the pretzel stand owner. But usually the birds don't interact with the other NPCs, but magpies can steal extraneous things, glass, diamonds, shattered bottles, and they can use them in all manner of gory ways.
It's a clever way of using what is, at first glance, a sort of flavour thing as a mechanic. There's a lot of games that do this well, but it's not very much done in the tabletop space, so like that is a really good exploration of that sort of thing. Yeah, and the way that it was a sort of asymmetric game with the two warring sides of animals with the merchant in the middle. Yeah, it's a really clever game.
Absolutely. So, a worthy candidate of Game of the Year. What is the other candidate?
The other candidate is Shadow, the Other Side of the Coin, which was a game about being the rival to the good guy, being the antithesis to the Superman. You are the Lex Luthor to the Superman. You are the Shadow the Hedgehog to the Sonic the Hedgehog sort of character.
The Green Power Ranger to the rest of the other cunts.
Sure, yeah. The way that it played on expectations of playbooks of character classes to have these pre-written hero characters, as it were, and then having the player character be like you have to make your alternate version of this character.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a really clever exploration of what makes up a game like this. Because another way of making this game could have just been, oh, here's the different types of antagonists you can play as, these anti-heroes you can play as. But the fact that you are creating these shadows, these other sides of the coin, as these flip sides to existing characters really is a clever sort of play in the space.
Yeah, it's a game definitely where character creation is really interesting in games. Some it's like really long, some it's very short, and I know people have so much different tastes on that. And sometimes games have lots of different options for character creation to accommodate that. But the thing I appreciate with Shadow, the other side of the coin, is it's definitely saying creating the character together is part of playing.
Yeah. So the way I played this, it was a journaling game, but then you had the sessions where you came up with the other player, didn't you? And you sort of played out these scenes with the rival that you were playing as and the original character, and then bouncing off each other, and then how that would change the rival sort of story. The way it integrated the journaling aspect with the in-person play, you don't really see that a lot in games. We did see that, of course, in Meisterlending as well. But yeah.
It's going to be a big thing this year, especially with how well both of these games have done at the Super Game Awards. I think we'll see a start of a real trend.
So, who are we giving the awards to? I'm willing to give it to Pretzels, but it's up to you. You have the final call.
For reasons that are definitely not just so in another dimension, I can label a game of the year. I'm really tempted to give it to Shadow, the other side of the coin. Also, I could say it's a nominee. I think War and Pretzels is kind of one of our funnest things, so I'm happy to give it to the War and Pretzels.
I think let's give it to both of them.
Hey,
they're the games of the year. Let's not have a fight. Let's give it to both of them.
Why do people always want to pitch two bad bitches against each
exactly
other?
So let's bring up Shadow the Hedgehog and a pigeon to the stage.
Coo, 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 coo,
thank you for inviting me to the show today. I didn't expect to win. I certainly didn't expect to be a double winner, co-winner. Thank you very much. Thank you to this pigeon. I'm shaking his feather, his wing. Thank you very much. I'm just looking. Insightful points there. Thank you very much. I just want to know, do these goodie bags have any damn Chaos Emeralds in them? I'm going to go check. Well, thank you very much to the head pigeon and to Shadow the Hedgehog for coming up there.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I do think it was a bit fucked that the Super Game Awards invited a war criminal on stage.
What, the pigeon?
Yeah. You know what they did in the War on Pretzels? Oh, our last category. This one will not necessarily take much effort.
But I think we're going to throw it over to our alternate dimension hosts. So this is Chloe Montgomery Beta signing off. Kayla Dice of this universe, do you have anything to say?
Oh, do you think the Kayla Dice from the other universe is, like, available?
I don't think she's single, but, like, does that ever stopped her?
No, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why the pause on the word available, rather than, like, she's not single by many accounts. She's
but by God, she is available.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it good to be back in the right dimension, Chloe?
It's lovely. I'm in my little Udi that I got for Christmas. I'm very cozy. I'm sick of wearing that gorgeous cocktail dress on that big awards stage. Now I can just be cozy in my little podcasting room.
I've got a nice cardigan that I have taken from. Oh, as my housemate didn't want a cardigan. We've swapped clothes a lot. Like when I think about it over the time we've known each other, there's a weird sort of cycle there.
Look, I was going to say it's okay because Alyssa steals lots of my clothes and I steal some of hers, but like you ain't dating your housemate, so
No, in spite of many people's confusions.
look, including my own.
Yeah, but that's also because you confused them with an entirely different person.
Look, all the people you're friends with have 3-letter names.
Yeah.
Maul, Pearl,
Yeah.
Zach.
There's very much a C in Zach.
Yeah, ZHC. Can't think of any other, so that must be all of them. Liz. There you go.
Start giving people novel nicknames. Mag.
Yeah, there you go.
Game most likely to be made in this dimension.
Well, I think we will be breaking the cardinal rule of Game Soup if we were to ever write any of these. So, which have we broken the rules for, Kayla?
I've got quite a decent bit now of Shadow the Other Side of the Coin, which initially I was just naming the other side of the coin. Part of me is currently considering, do I want to rename it again?
Yeah.
I was considering calling it Nemesis Revealed.
I like that. I've been playing through all of the Resident Evil games over the holiday break, so yeah, let's get some Nemesis in there.
But yeah, it's slightly different from some of the things we said it would be on the show. I think I made a joke on the show of like, oh, there's nice dice rolls, it's just like super balanced, and it's like, I can't bother to do that balance. But yeah, that's like partway written. Maybe I'll make it this year. It's a thing where I've got to write more of it and then figure out the shape of it and how much art I could or couldn't get for it, because I think the play sets of different characters. Oh, the fun thing about this being a big, heavy playset game, is it's a really great place to throw ideas I don't want to make full games out of, just because of personal things. Like I've got a big mech thing in there, because it's like, I don't really want to make a mech game, but it's fun to have a mech playset.
Yeah, I don't want to write a superhero game, but it's fun to write an evil Superman.
Yeah, like, it's a good way for just getting certain, like, fiction elements of stuff out. I feel like I'm hoping this game comes together. It's probably one of the games I should playtest rather than just shunting into existence, which is a great difficulty for me, because I'm bad at organizing things in general, and I'm especially bad at organizing things where asking people to play involves an element of vulnerability.
Yeah. It's like, tell me everything that's bad about this game that I've worked for months on, please.
Yeah, or just, do you want to play this thing I have worked hard about? And if someone comes back and is like, no.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Even when it's probably nothing to do with me, it's just a bit like, oh, okay. Yeah. What was I going to say that was... Oh, is there any that you have been compelled by?
See, King's Ransom, I could see myself writing that if I had a few months to work on it. I have always wanted to kind of write a hex crawl, and all the additional little systems is kind of speaking to me. Meisterlending, I do want to write a Borrower's game eventually, so this might be the thing where I just write up a couple playbooks and then just say, here's how you start up a monster, here's how you start up a challenge. I could see this being a little zine game. Something like Versus the World, I kind of imagined you were going to write it. I thought you had been writing it, I'm not going to lie.
I don't know why I stalled on it. I think some of it was just sort of freezing, or I think it was I kept thinking about what a moves look like, and I've not... It's the thing, I'm working on a game that is at the moment vaguely PBTA-ish, but not really. Like, I won't advertise it as, like, PBTA, because I'm just like, oh, it doesn't play like how people... It's a mashup of two other games, which are, like, PBTA-inspired, but, like, different enough, so then the fact that it's further descended...
Yeah.
Takes a bit far apart. I feel like one day I probably will write a PBTA game, and I could see it being Versus the World, but I don't know.
Eventually.
Also feel Versus the World is one where I'd like to, like, co-make it with whoever was doing the art.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one that would need lots of good art.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe in that kind of setup, I'd rather be working with the artist early on rather than being, here's a written game, you add a bunch
Yeah.
of. Which is fine sometimes, but other times I think, and I feel for that kind of game, it would be better if not that. But yeah.
There was another one that I wanted to. It's like stocking stuffers. I could see myself writing that up in like an afternoon, but of course it is a Christmas game,
Yeah.
so maybe I'd write it up in the middle of June.
What about 1 year later? Given it's a based on you
Yeah.
game, like it would be weird if I wrote that kind of.
I like it, but I've spent so many times trying to make a Sunrise Scouts game, and it's not like the original was super popular. Like I do get a download or two on it, like once a week, but it's not like people are still talking about it.
That makes sense. That's where I just said like, oh, it'd be weird if I did it. I'm now like, oh, it'd be really funny if you got like we could do it so I do you and you do me, but what part of me is almost going get like a fucking round table of people who have to like rebuild each other's games in a row.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a rebuild game for a one-page RPG that I would want to play is like Reservoir Bears, where it's about the honey heist bears after the heist.
That's good. I don't know what rebuild on any of my games I'd be interested in. I don't think there's an interesting rebuild for Killer Crustaceans Find God. Or if there is, it's more like
It's Terminal, but it's just about being pirates. There's no Matrix, it's just pirates.
Just sexy, sexy pirates. None of my solo games feel like they're worth that kind of exploration. I think they're all good, but I couldn't think of what would be like the sort of distantly connected sequel.
Yeah.
I feel like Killer Crustaceans Find God, a rebuild of it would have to be an interrogation of why I made it.
Yeah.
Or of why the game is
Listen,
like
this
that.
isn't the rebuild episode. We've
I'm
done
getting
that.
into No,
This
we've done
is
that.
the
That's
Super
in the past. You can listen
Game
back to
Soup
it.
Awards, the Game Supers. I've forgotten what we're calling them. I'm sure somebody knows.
The Game Soup Super Game
Brought
Awards,
to you by
yes.
Game Soup.
That's we're at a wrap though. Before we go, I think
before we run away, I'm going to give the award to Shadow, the other side
Oh?
of the coin, just so you can put that on the book.
Yeah.
Whatever it ends up being called.
2-time award winner.
Yeah.
Also, before we go, I'm running a sale at the moment for my looking back at my breakdown era of game design, where like I started releasing games in like late December 2020, and then until like mid-April, I made about 5 games, and that was in a period where I was teaching in lockdown. I had a very difficult home situation going on, and like by mid-April, I just had a fucking breakdown at work. But I find the games that came out of that period really interesting because they're kind of what I was doing to distract myself. So those 4 games, those 5 of them, but one isn't available anymore, are all on sale. So that's Killer Crustaceans Find God, I'm a Volcano, Follow Me in the Night, Accursed Radio, and Plural Witchcraft Highland Rampage. You can all get 25% off, or essentially a bundle of that for 15 quid.
What a bargain. You'd be a fool
On
not to get it.
Another year of Super, eh?
Yeah, Super makes me feel good. Down, 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 down.
Do you want to sign off with that?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. It's done. Super makes me feel good.
We're out. Feel good.
Game Soup.